so we'll figure that out. Billy, I told Mike about that.
Recording in progress.
Good morning. I want to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, May 23rd meeting of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners. Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the opening and reading of bids.
Good morning, Sky Metters, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, offices on the 7th and 11th floor of this building. What we have received here are our annual material bids, and as you can see, there's quite a few bids in there for various materials, and then also there's various prices for where these materials would be delivered. The way these are typically awarded is we will take these back, review them, and then come with a recommendation to award all of the people that submitted, and then give priority for who we order from based on the costs. So they'll all be awarded, but we will go down the line as far as lowest cost first and so forth when we purchase the materials. And if the lowest isn't available, we move to the next. So with that, I would like to just go ahead and read each item and who submitted bids, and then I will request that you give these bids over to us to review and so forth. So item 1 was 2023 street light repairs and replacements. Contractor submitting bid was Martel Electric LLC and Michiana Contracting Inc. The second item was 2023 bituminous patching material. Submitting bids were Central Paving Inc., Reith Riley Construction Inc., and Milestone Contractors North Inc. Item number 3, 2023 miscellaneous aggregates. Submitting bids was the Clink Group, Reith Riley Construction Company, and C&E Excavating. Item 4, 2023 traffic paint and signage material. Submitting bids on that was Ennis Flint Inc., the Sherwin-Williams Company, and All States Coatings Company. Item 5 was 2023 guardrail materials. There was one bid submitted there, and that was from LaPorte Construction, Inc. Item 6, 2023 fuel, oils, lubricants, and miscellaneous materials. Submitting bids was Bellman Oil Company, Yoder Oil LLC, Ceres Solutions, Petroleum Traders Corporation, The Ridge Company, Sunoco LLC, and Co-Alliance. And the final item was 2023 liquid bituminous materials, and there were 2 bids submitted. The Clink Group and Asphalt Materials, Inc. submitted bids for that item. I would recommend that you give these bids over to us to review and make a recommendation to the board in a few weeks. Happy to answer any questions.
When are you going to go through all those?
Pardon me?
When are you going to go through all those?
Mr. Meeks will be going through them within the next couple
okay.
weeks.
I have no further questions at this time.
Great.
Do we have a motion to send the bids to Sky for his department for review?
Yeah, a motion to receive all these bids.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Scott.
Sky Metters.
Next item, accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is recognition of our Employee of the Month. Mr. Dieter, are you gonna? Oh, you do, I'm
Deb
sorry.
Fleming does that.
Yes.
Gosh, our employee of the month is, for May, it's Brenda Muskaskovich. Matthew Skavich, okay, I'm sorry, Matthew Skavich.
Wow.
Matthew
Not even
Skavich.
close.
Yeah, I was trying to, I'm sorry, my fault. Yeah, Matthew Skavich. So this month's Employee of the Month is Brenda Matthews-Skavich. Brenda has worked for the CASA program of St. Joseph County for 20 years. Brenda has gone out of her way to make her employees and volunteers feel important and supported both personally and professionally. She works long hours and is usually on duty due to the irregular schedules of her staff. It is amazing how she does it to all with a smile and while remembering everyone's name. Since she started with the CASA program, she has been instrumental in expanding the program to better serve the community and the children of St. Joseph County. In Brenda's time as director, the program was grown from under 5 staff to now almost 20, and it has seen many positive changes. Twice now, she has led the program to meet the ultimate goal of serving every child in our county with a CASA. The program is currently serving just under 500 children. Wow. And Brenda knows each and every one of them. Yes, Brenda. Brenda, you are a true example of a brilliant employee, and we wish to thank you for your continued hard work and years of service. Congratulations, hon. Here, this is for you.
Do you want to, Brenda, do you want to say anything?
Does anyone else want to say anything for her?
Or say anything on her behalf?
Anybody like to step up to the podium? Come on, y'all came here, somebody jump up there.
No, we're gonna come down. Yeah, we'll get a picture with you.
So I've only worked with Brenda for a couple years now, but unfortunately, we can't do Employee of the Month for her and actually at the JJC because she's a supervisor. So thank you so much for this opportunity that she can be for the county because she deserves so much more than this. But like the letter of recommendation said, she's goes above and beyond, and she challenges us to do that for the children that we work for in the county. And she is definitely one to be revered and modeled after. The fact that she knows everybody's names is a little scary. She always makes us feel welcome, and she so deserves this award month after month after month. So thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, Cameron, you want to get a good shot, step up over here?
Why don't we get a picture with all the staff?
Carl, working. Go by height, left to right, height, Sure. Your cuff's coming loose in the back, dude. Anytime.
Next is our Youth of the Month. Now,
Youths. All step up, please, come on. The April are twins, Rima and Siva, who I've known a long, long time. So their mother Heidi, who can tell everyone how great these two young people are, what they've done so far, what they've accomplished, and where they are going, and then y'all have a couple minutes to talk. So Heidi, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Derek. Well, we have Siva and Rima, who are my two youngest children, who are both going to be sweet 16 at the very end of this month. So this is a special month altogether. They both are very intelligent. They're very kind and supportive children. I'm still saying children, even though they don't like that. But they both participate, they both go to Career Academy, and they both participate in the robotics. They also both run track and have plenty of PRs. And Rima actually broke school record, is that correct? Yes. She what? I got the mile school record. What he said? Mall school record? Mile. He got the mile school record. And she has the 100 and 400 school record. So in track. And then Siva also plays basketball. They try their best to keep their grades up. They're A students. So Rima has been an A student since kindergarten. She has never wavered. Siva wavers at times, but not too bad. I think they are, although they are twins, they're very different in personality, and yet so much the same, though they do not like to admit that. I'm super proud to be their mom. I'm thankful to be their mom. They have really brightened my life, and they are strong-willed and strong in character. They are truly going to be giants amongst men. I know they will. They have a great future ahead of them. They have went through adversity and always kept their head up high. And I'm just really thankful. And yes, of course, I am a little biased. I believe that they do deserve this award. And I'm really thankful to everyone who participated in deciding that they should receive this award. Thank you so much. And here they are.
Okay, who's going to speak first? Excuse me, y'all have to talk also.
Yeah.
We do.
We'll get in front of the microphone.
Ladies first. Okay, well, hi, I'm Rima. So I'm very thankful for this. I actually recently won an award for Youth of the Year for Boys and Girls Club. So I'm thankful to keep this trend going. So I guess I can tell you some of the things that I do. As my mom said, I'm a straight A student. I'm in all AP and honors courses. So I also take college courses online. Right now, my GPA is a 4.375, but we're hoping that gets up by the end of this year, okay? I do track. I'm starting basketball next year. That camp actually starts in about a week. I also do robotics. I tutor. Pretty much everything else. Yeah, I pretty much do everything else in the school. Anything that you can think of, I usually sign up for. So I'm just really excited to get this award. Worked really hard for it. So yeah, that's good.
Go tell them.
Hello, everybody. I'm Siva, Rima's twin, and I signed up for a lot of stuff in the school as well. I'm in track, which at first I didn't really like, but now that the season is over, I'm really kind of sad. I hold the school record for the 300 hurdles and the mile. Other than that, I'm also in robotics. I'm doing basketball for AAU. It's a traveling team. We actually just had a tournament in Lafayette, Indiana, and I just came back this weekend. Other than that, I try to help a lot. I try to help a lot throughout the school as much as I can whenever I'm not busy doing sports or, hanging out with friends, doing schoolwork, stuff like that. And other than that, I don't know. I like to draw. like to have fun.
Well, you forgot to
Thank you.
mention you'll be tutoring Mr. Dalton in the hair care club?
Oh yeah. I got you with some hair products. But thank you.
Right, thank you. As you can tell, these two young people are very fascinating of what they've accomplished so far, and they will truly be leaders of the community, which you are already. But it's great to see the youth of South Bend get to this level, and I'm excited for the next chapters in both of your lives. And thank you, Heidi, for raising two great kids among all of them.
Among the whole 11, yes. Mother of 11. They're the babies.
Get it right sometime and then you can stop.
I got it right this time. Thank you.
We gotta come up here for pictures of flags.
Come up this way.
Okay.
Okay, we're trying to have a meeting, you two y'all can go. See you, buddy. My shoes, by the way.
Thank you, take care.
Next, Resolution R12-C-2023, approving a redevelopment agreement between St. Joseph County, the St. Joseph County Redevelopment Commission, and General Motors LLC.
Good morning. Bill Shalio, Economic Development Director, part of Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth with offices on the 7th and 11th floor. Before you today is resolution number R12C 2023, and it's a resolution between the St. Joseph County Redevelopment Commission, General Motors, and the Board of Commissioners. What I'd like to do is give a little overview of the project, the GM General Motors battery plant project, and then come back and specifically talk about the development agreement and this resolution. So, I hate this. There we go. So, brief introduction of some of the project team. What we'll do is we've got some of our project team here in the room, and then we've got some project team members that are on the Zoom with General Motors. So, at the end of this part of the presentation, we'll let them introduce themselves and let them have a couple of comments. I'd like to talk to you about the project and refer to it really as project by the numbers. So, back last September, we brought forward a project with Altium Cells Materials LLC. It was a joint venture between General Motors and LG. They were interested in developing a battery plant on IEC Site 1. That's a site, 680 acres, located at the northwest corner of State Road 2 in Larison, out just southeast of New Carlisle. The site consists of 3 property owner groups: St. Joseph County, the Sebasti family, and the Kaminsky family, and there's a map that shows the ownership splits on those properties. Back when this project came forward the first time, it was, again, a joint venture between GM and LG. They were proposing to make pouch batteries at the site, so that there's a picture of what a pouch battery looks like. Now, with Samsung as a potential joint venture partner, there's a chance that different batteries would be made there on site, likely cylindrical batteries. This is a representation of one of the Ultium sites that was being proposed, one of the 3 facilities being built presently. And so this is similar to what would be built if this project moves forward out in the New Carlisle area. So by the numbers specifically, so the column on the left is what the project looked like in September. What I'd like to do is highlight some of the differences under the proposed General Motors project. So the site is the same, 680 acres. Investment is raised from $2.5 billion to $3.5 billion. Looking at a building size of about 3 million square feet over 2 buildings, as opposed to 2 million square feet over 1 building. The project would likely start, if it moves forward, in the 4th quarter of 2023, with a project completion of December 31st, 2027. 1,600 jobs would be contemplated by the substantial completion date of December 31st. And then the wage rate would be $24 an hour. So on the left side, again, is the project as it was proposed in the fall. What we had proposed was a tax abatement on real property at 10 years at 80%, and personal property at 15 years at a scale of 100% for 2 years, 90, 80% for 2 years, and then 10 years is 70%. And you can see there the investment proposed at that time, $645 million of real property and $1.8 billion of personal property. On the right is the new project. So real property is estimated to be $1.4 billion and personal property at $2.1 billion. The council later this evening will have an amended confirming resolution before them to approve a tax abatement at 100% for 10 years of real property and 100% for 15 years for personal property. It's estimated that that savings, as you see there, would be about $377 million over the 15-year life of the abatement. The difference between the project proposed last year and this year would be that there's an infrastructure payment that would be required as it relates to the project, $4.5 million a year, or $45 million over 10 years. So it's a 10-year payment of that infrastructure payment. That infrastructure payment will help offset the cost needed to do necessary infrastructure improvements in that area. So as you can see, there is the potential for a total net savings of about $332 million. But what I would like to point to is the bigger picture. So over the life of the project, so over the 25-year life of the project, we estimate that the taxpayer would pay about $329 million. So on a typical abatement, we run a model somewhere between 60 and 40% of the project that we do an abatement on. In this particular case, over the 25-year life of the project, we'd be at about 50%. So still bringing in a significant amount of revenue just on the property tax or on the tax side of things over the life of the project. So and in that number, again, is that $45 million that would come in for the infrastructure payment. So the question often is, well, what's the recourse if the project doesn't move forward? So we have 3 very specific clawback provisions in the agreement, same as last September. The first is if they fail to substantially complete the building by December 31st, there's the potential for clawback December 31st, 2027. Second would be if the building sits idle for 365 consecutive days, or the third would be that they failed to initially satisfy their 85% hiring goal before December 31st, 2027. So those would be the 3 clawback provisions in the agreement that in the event that those conditions aren't met, 1 or 2 or 3 of those conditions aren't met, then the tax abatement could be considered for clawback. So as part of the agreement, We have several things that the county is responsible for doing. We have the responsibility to extend fiber optics to the site, road work improvements with NDOT in coordination with NDOT, local roadway improvements on Larison and Fillmore, extension of sewer and improvements in some of the pieces of the sewer network, and the sewer is managed by the city of South Bend. Water improvements in the area, those are managed by the town of New Carlisle. We would be responsible for hiring a project manager for the project, and then also participating in site redevelopment or site pre-development activities. Those are activities such as zoning, subdivision, road vacation. So several of those activities have occurred, but we were responsible as part of the agreement for those activities. And then also regional stormwater management. So as we look to improve the ditch and regional drainage in the area, those would be costs that the county would bear. And then lastly, there's kind of a catch-all, other additional support, and that's capped at $1 million, and that could be used for a variety of different things during the ramp-up of the project and through the life of the project. So those would be the county's responsibilities. The other side of the equation are the General Motor responsibilities. So there's an infrastructure fee at $4.5 million, again, for 10 years, so $45 million. That would be used to pay and support a bond for those 10 years. This would pay for the first 10 years of the bond. Real property taxes, as those roll off, would pay for the remaining years of the bond. The General Motors would be responsible for the purchase of 3 redevelopment commission-owned properties at the northeast corner of State Road 2 in Larissa, or State Road 2 in Willow. There's a price there of $270,000. That equates to the average of 2 appraisals. There's a requirement of professional service fees. This is a condition of all our development agreements. That professional service fee is used to help on the bonding cost and other service costs as we move forward through the bond process. And then the protection of the aquifer and monitoring wells and fire training, that was part of September's agreement. Those things carried over into this agreement. From a project timeline standpoint, the Redevelopment Commission earlier today at 9 o'clock approved a resolution 2023-07. That was its version of the agreement before you today. What we're asking for you to do is consider this resolution R12C 2023. And basically what it states is you as a signing member of the development agreement approve the development agreement as attached. The development agreement was circulated. It was circulated last night, late in the evening, and again this morning to you. And then later today, the council, at committee meeting at 5:30, will have 3 agenda items related to this project. And then at night, assuming those get out of committee, they would go to a public hearing at 6:30. So those are the main pieces of my part of the presentation. Again, there's representatives from General Motors if they'd like to make some comments at this time.
Thank you, Bill. Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone.
hear
Morning,
you.
commissioners.
We can hear you.
Great. This is John Blanchard. I'm the Director of Local Government Relations for General Motors. And with me on the line is also Troy Kennedy from our GM Tax staff and Candace Butler from our GM Economic Development team. So we just first off want to thank you for allowing us to do this via Zoom. We were all prepared to come in this morning, and we are planning on coming in this afternoon for this evening's hearings, but the flexibility allowed to be able to do this by Zoom, we really do appreciate that. I want to start off by thanking Bill and his entire team. I mean, Bill and Phil and the whole group. We've been going at this now for, I think we've passed an anniversary for the first time around when we went through with our original structure, which was the Ultium Cells joint venture with LG Energy Solutions. And the entire county team could not be more professional, and we really appreciate all their support. As you know, when we came in front of you last year, we were looking at exploring the feasibility of a 4th battery cell development facility. And at that time, it was going to be in partnership through a joint venture with LG Energy Solutions. Ultium was the name of that joint venture. Once this got approved in September, just the 2 companies decided to go in a little different direction. And so we've elected to form a new joint venture with Samsung SDI. It just gives us a little more flexibility. It really helps us prepare for future market demand. But we're still very excited, and we've communicated with the local folks there how excited we are, as this is one of our potential sites here in St. Joseph County. So Bill did a great job going through some of the numbers, significant additional investment. And the timing would be such that once we get through this part of the process, we'd factor this all into the business case. There's a lot of other issues that we need to continue to resolve internally, but we're excited about making a decision to invest. And ideally, we make a decision to invest here in St. Joseph's County and start the construction later this year so we can move forward. As you can see, just the electric vehicle demand continues to grow, and General Motors has some great products out there. So we appreciate your consideration for this important step in the process, and happy to take any questions if you have any.
Yeah, I got a question. What's the difference between the project before LG and now the project with Samsung?
Couple of different things. The facility is bigger, more investment, but the what we're doing with LG is one type of battery pack. And Bill, I think Bill had a slide there on that. And what the Samsung investment and joint venture allows us is two different types, cylindrical and prismatic, two different types of battery packs. And it really just provides a lot more design flexibility because you can create these packages and batteries, and they're different technologies, but we would rely on both. And it gives us more flexibility on designing vehicles so that they can fit into, your entry level smaller vehicles all the way up to the full size SUV and pickup trucks. So it just gives us a little more flexibility and a little diversification in suppliers as we were to move forward, really to meet market demand.
So the bulk of this will be batteries for cars?
Would be for cars, trucks, SUVs, crossovers. That's really the direction that General Motors is going, an all electric future, as we've talked about. And so this provides us flexibility to support all those different vehicle types.
How about if there's a new administration, we go back to fossil fuel? How will that affect this?
Well, that's a great question. We were just the last week, we were in front of the Allen County, right up the road, City Council, to talk about a potential investment in our Fort Wayne facility. So we're looking at internal combustion engines. We still have the manufacturing footprint to support that. And it really, we believe, puts General Motors in a great position because we can support the ICE, internal combustion engine portfolio, as we transition to the EV portfolio. So we really think it provides us the flexibility and the best of both worlds because we have the manufacturing footprint. As market demand continues, we have vehicles that we can provide.
Okay, the other questions are on the clawbacks. The one, if the facility is not done by December 31st of 27, what happens? Where's the official callback? Because you said in your talk there, Bill, there could be clawbacks. Is it or not? Yes or no?
So the clawbacks are at the discretion of the county council. So the development agreement contains those clawback provision, that provision language, but it's up to the council to make a determination if it wants to institute the clawback at that point in time. So there's a whole provision within the clawback language that.
And that's like the problem that I have, like we just got this a little bit ago.
Yep, no, I understand.
And it's pretty lengthy, and I like the overall project, but like that's the kind of questions I'm looking at for something that we just got when we came in here. That's ridiculous. We should have had this a week ago. So when we're asking questions, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, if nobody else wants to ask questions, like I'd like to be able to read this. So I'm just going off what people said in your PowerPoint as opposed to going Article 8, 2.0, we're talking about wells. The company agrees that later, future planning dates, we will talk about the wells. And there was a question today about weeds and any kind of pesticides that we don't have an answer for. So that's my problem.
Yeah, so the language, again, that's in there for the clawbacks, for the monitoring wells, things like that, is the same language that was in the agreement that was passed last September. So we would have liked to have gotten it circulated a lot sooner. It was.
No, I get the part we got to put stuff together, but we all need to make a decision here.
Sure.
And I'd like to get the information before walking in here that we have this.
I think said it very well. I don't disagree that it would have been nice to have this earlier, but I would note that the basic framework is the same as what was presented last year. I would note that in addition to John's kind comments about our team, the same can be said for their team. GM was quite open and explained what they wanted to see or needed to see, as were we, and what factors we wanted and had to have in a development agreement. So I don't disagree with you, Derek, that yes, it would have been nice to have this earlier, but there were, excuse me, some minor points that were still being discussed as late as yesterday. You know, this project, Jeff Ray described it last year as transformational, and this is going to have a tremendous impact on St. Joe County. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to really change the economic development trajectory of our county.
And I was just going to say, I'm excited about moving forward with the economy and getting this moving forward, because we wanted to do that a couple of years ago and it didn't really work out so well, but I'm glad to get it forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have another question on the one slide you had under 3 of 85% of the workforce. So that's roughly 1,300 of the 1,600.
Yes.
Okay. Are there provisions, because I haven't had time to go through this, of, oh, we're going to have to change because the wages aren't enough to that extent, or is that set in stone? If we don't have 1,600 employees by the end of '27, there'll be a clawback that goes to the council. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if they don't have 85% of the 1,600, then yes, that would
So
be.
is that is, I'm
it's-
not a mathematician, is that 1,300 workers, Mr. Mish?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that? 'cause
Somewhere in that ballpark,
Okay.
yes, sir.
But is there, what I'm looking at, if they're basing that on a $24 an hour, do they have the opportunity to say, hey, we're gonna have to kick this up to $30 an hour because we're not getting the employees, so does that affect the 85% threshold?
No, so the 85% threshold is fixed. If they end up having higher wages, if the plant chooses to unionize and create higher wage structures than that 85% is still a fixed rate benchmark.
So at that point, the council could say your abatement is done because you didn't get to that, correct?
Certainly could.
Okay, so who is it the company that calculates that?
So on a yearly basis, or at that benchmark point, they would be required to submit information as far as how many employees they have, and we would use that as part of the abatement review.
Okay. So there wouldn't be a third entity to make sure that information would be 100% correct?
Well, I mean, presently, we use Sender and Dalton to do the abatement reviews. I mean, we
Is
would.
Mr. Dalton aware of that?
Yeah. I mean, he
I
does that.
didn't see your name in here, so that's why I'm asking.
He does that for all our other tax abatements, so I'm sure that would be part of the abatement review process that we would go through on a yearly basis.
So I have one more question for our attorney. Our vote on this today, we have to have a vote on this today, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve the resolution R-12-C-2023.
I will second that, and I would ask that in the future, and I'll be watching this diligently, we get this information, because we need to get this stuff, because I'm sure I would have had a lot more questions. And again, I like the project, I like the people from GM stepping up, and Bill and everybody's hard work, but it seems to me we should be able to get this stuff way ahead of time to ask further questions. So I'll second that motion, but we need more information as we go along.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great.
Thank you. And
Thank you all very much. Truly appreciate the support.
We will see you this evening.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to hit the road soon. Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is adult probation, approval of the agreement with Siemens Healthcare.
Good morning, Jesse Carlton, Chief Probation Officer with the Adult Probation Department. Office is located here on the 4th floor of the County City Building. We're requesting approval to enter into a new agreement with Siemens Healthcare. They are the current provider for the analyzer and chemicals for our urine drug screening lab here in the building. The new contract has an annual commitment that's just over 4% an increase of what we're spending now. The contract would include a new analyzer. Our old one is from 2011, starting to show a little bit of wear and tear, a little more on maintenance costs. It would also include a new data system, training for the staff, and the removal of the old unit. Additionally, the pricing in the new contract will allow us to enhance our alcohol testing and also allow us to add fentanyl testing, which is extremely important to us as we move forward. As this is specific to court functions as well as testing for our county entities such as human resources, the sheriff, etc., we would prefer to continue operations with our current vendor as they've been very responsive to all our needs in the past, and they are the sole source provider of brand new Beckman Coulter analyzers, which is what we've been using for several years now. This request has been reviewed by Director of Procurement and has been approved to bring to you guys for consideration.
So expanded services.
Yep. New analyzer, new data system, additional testing for the folks that are in our programs, whether that's pretrial probation, drug court, veterans court, all those kind of fun things as well.
Well, we certainly need to continue.
Absolutely.
And while there was a cost increase, given the other cost increases that we have seen, reasonable.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Jesse? If not, do we have a motion to approve the agreement with Siemens Healthcare?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I'd like to thank Jesse, it's adult probation, unfortunately, is kind of lost because you're way over here and people don't know about it, but everything that you and your staff do is greatly appreciated. You guys do a ton of work there, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I do too. Best wishes. Take care.
Thank you, Deb.
Moving on to infrastructure planning and growth. First item is the consent agenda. We only have one item on that, which is special event requests for the annual 9/11 march to the memorial in September. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is approval of the broadband expansion change order number 1. Is somebody going to speak on that?
Nice try, Sky.
I saw him trying to get out.
Mr. Krasinski, next time he starts that little exit, could you make sure he doesn't get out? Thank you, sir.
What this item is I'd misread what it was and forgot I put it on the agenda. Actually, it's for change order for the broadband project that had been going on over in the New Carlisle, the Loop project. There were some minor things that were
Sky, this
trying
is
to find my
actually
agenda. Is it the final change order?
this is a final change order, and it actually represents a decrease.
Yes,
in the
yes.
agreement.
So, yes, okay, so now I know which one it is.
Sorry.
It is the final change order for the broadband project that was over in New Carlisle. That project has been completed. We just need this to finish up close out the project and get the paperwork completed. And as you said, there was a decrease in the overall project, which we don't get to say that a lot, so.
Basically, it was a decrease in the amount of materials used, as I
Yes,
understand it.
yes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any,
Just look like too that there's what it is a change in the amount. 31,536 decreased, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
any questions, or comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve the final change order on the broadband expansion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you
Aye.
vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Thank you, Sky.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was.
Next, approval of the professional services proposal for State Road 933 and the Riviera Drive sidewalk with Christopher Burke Engineering.
Yep. Good morning, Bill Shalio, Economic Development Director. So before you today is a professional service proposal to provide inspection and technical services for the Riviera Drive, or Lincoln Way East Riviera Drive Improvement Project. This is the construction of a section of sidewalk and trail between Capitol Avenue and Brook Avenue to the west along Lincoln Way. We are asking for your approval of this contract. It's a not-to-exceed amount of $39,900. We anticipate that this is probably a 60-day project that would start here later this summer, and so we're excited to move this forward. The Redevelopment Commission approved this agreement at their meeting on May 9th. You all approved received the bids and awarded the project at your last meeting, so this is just kind of the second piece of that. So staff would request approval of this proposal, please.
Any questions or comments on this particular?
Well, I just have a comment that I'm excited about getting this done because that's where I grew up, on Riviera Drive in Mishawaka. So yeah, I'm glad to see that, getting things updated. Thank you so much.
A personal connection on the part of the board.
That's right.
Any other questions or comments? If-
Negative.
If not, do we have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Bill.
Don't go away.
Yeah, I'm not. So before you today is a professional service proposal from Burns and Thornburg LLP to provide professional attorney services and early bond coordination services for the Northern Edge project. The Northern Edge project is a potentially proposed economic development area at the northeast corner of Douglas and State Road 933, adjacent to Notre Dame and adjacent to the town of Roseland. This is a project that we've been working on with Notre Dame and some other partners for a couple of years. Burns and Thornburg will provide services to the county and to the commission on an hourly basis as the project moves forward. The Redevelopment Commission approved this agreement on their meeting on May 9th. Staff request approval, please.
Is this going to be the new project with the housing development stuff up through there?
Yes, that's correct.
Are they going to ask for a TIF?
So they are proposing an economic development area with a TIF district within it. What we're looking to do, and part of the additional work that Phil Facenda and his team will do, is look at the ability to expand this either through the town and Roseland up the 933 corridor or some other additional areas to provide some additional off-site benefit to the area, and so not just on this project site.
And when do they plan to go to the council for that TIF?
So we probably won't start that until July, and so it usually takes about 3 to 4 months to get through the process, so, late summer, early fall.
Okay, because during that presentation, I'll just let it go at that.
And I'm just glad to see getting Douglas Road getting updated and getting it better too.
Yep, Sky and his team are doing a great job on that. Yep.
And Bill, there was some misinformation out in the community about some of the upfront costs that have to be paid to move forward.
With this project?
With this
yes.
project, and the fact that those costs are reimbursable if the TIF is approved.
Yeah, so one of the things that we typically do is that there's a point in time at which we file a resolution with the Redevelopment Commission so that any costs that have been borne related to the project development can be recaptured by the bond proceeds, and then those funds can be reimbursed to either the redevelopment accounts or perhaps other accounts in which those funds came from.
Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve the professional service proposal.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, the MOU IEC non-potable water study.
Yep, so the next two agreements are a memorandum of understandings. related to specific utility work that needs to be done in the Indiana Enterprise Center area. This first one is related to a non-potable water study that the town of New Carlisle, so this agreement's between the town of New Carlisle, the Redevelopment Commission, and Board of Commissioners. This would allow for a study to be done that will do the initial work in planning for utility extensions from the existing water treatment plant that was built for the Energy Center to provide water services, non-potable water services to the battery plant project and to perhaps other industrial users out in that area. So what we would do is we would enter into a contract with, in this particular case, DLZ, to do the study work, and that study work then would be shared with the town of New Carlisle, but we, the Redevelopment Commission, would pay for that study work to be done as part of the design needed to move forward with the project. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I got some. The town will have no dough going into this, no money's going into this?
So for the study specifically, this study work, no, at this point in time, that's correct.
Okay, then how about after the study regarding the plant and stuff, will the town have any, as they say, skin in the game on this, or is this the county's picking up all this, even if it's New Carlisle's water treatment stuff?
So for the non-potable water plant, or this newer water plant, at this point in time, we need to understand what the cost will be. So there's a couple different ways in which the Redevelopment Commission or the county could reclaim cost as part of this work, either through a portion of the rate collection, percentage of connections to the utility lines, a reimbursement agreement for that. So we don't believe that this is 100% cost to the county as part of the work that will ultimately be done. That wouldn't be the tact we would take, but ultimately the work would be paid for by the bond that we talked about as part of the development agreement for the energy, or for the battery plant project.
So we don't know.
So at this point in time, we haven't designed the project, so we don't know what the costs are, but.
So at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is suddenly whatever studies come up, and then New Carlisle's gonna get a hit with a 10 or 15 or 20% increase in their rates.
No, so this is the water plant specific to the
Right, I
energy center.
understand that,
So
but I get how all this goes, that suddenly we paid for the study, and if something goes wrong, is the city of New Carlisle gonna be on the hook for anything?
no, not for the initial work that needs to be done, and not for the work that needs to be done.
But
This
then
is,
after the study is done, will they be on the hook for anything?
no, it's not the intent of this project to cause additional costs to that water plant, to that water system.
Okay, so the
No.
people of New Carlisle have nothing to worry about.
So the ratepayers in New Carlisle will not have any cost, because right now there's only one ratepayer that pays
Right.
for this water plant, and that's the Energy Center. Now, we have another
There we
project.
go, there we go, now.
No. Now, we have another water treatment plant, the
Right.
potable water plant, and that'll be a separate agreement, and that agreement is actually gonna be a three-party agreement between the Redevelopment Commission, Cleveland Cliffs, and the town.
I just want to be clear on this, because there will be blowback, I would assume, from the lovely people of New Carlisle. Once stuff goes, and if they see some kind of increase, it wasn't related to this thing we're voting on.
Yeah, so again, this is non-drinkable water that comes out of this plant, so they wouldn't have any cost associated with that plant. Because again, there's a,
Would this
right
have
now.
anything, this study, not to convolute it, but the study that when Mr. Crusoe was asking about contaminants and stuff for the plant, for whatever weeds or non-weeds or whatever, would that be found in this study as we go?
So we do have to do some aquifer testing, aquifer monitoring, aquifer projections as part of the design of any improvements to the non-potable water plant. So I don't know that those two pieces connect, but certainly if there's any environmental conditions that would prevent this from moving forward, those would be noted in the early part of the study.
Okay.
There being no further questions or comments, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is the MOU IEC sanitary sewer study, very similar to the potable water study.
Correct. This is a sanitary sewer study partnership between City of South Bend Redevelopment Commission, Board of Commissioners. This MOU would relate to the sewer work that needs to be done to not only extend sewer service to the battery plant and other adjacent development sites, but it also will study existing conditions in the existing Iron Tech, Iron Coat lines, make recommendations on potential improvement of conditions in both of those lines. The Redevelopment Commission has approved this agreement, the City of South Bend has approved this agreement, and so now this is before the Board of Commissioners for their approval.
Again, this is forward-looking. It's not just to serve the battery plant. It's to look at
That's correct.
what the needs might be going forward.
Yep, that's correct.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say, I think it's good that we're going to be upgrading on, you know, what the upgrade study is for the sewer. Yay.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer?
You're back.
Getting ahead of myself. Aye.
Motion carries.
So excited.
Thank you.
Next, we have a professional service proposal for acquisition appraisal at 502 East Michigan for Iverson Grove.
Terry O'Brien, Economic Development Planner, Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth. My office is on the 11th floor. I'm here today to ask permission to appraise 502 East Michigan Street in New Carlisle. There's three reasons we're asking to do this. The first reason is the Board of Commissioners previously purchased 494 East Michigan Street. To refresh your memory, 494 East Michigan Street is the mobile home park that is adjacent right before you get to the underpass. This property is adjacent to that parcel that the commissioners already own, so this would expand the area for future redevelopment. The second reason that we're interested in doing this is because we were contacted by the landowner. We have a willing seller. The reason we have a willing seller is unfortunately his home was destroyed by being hit by a vehicle. The insurance company has previously demolished this house that was there. So in terms of the future acquisition costs, we would not have to incur the fee to demolish this property if we purchase this land to expand the territory. Be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Do you know how much we originally paid for that mobile home site? Mr. Bill, how we?
Dan, you know. Yeah, I think roughly, I mean, between demolition and
Mr. Caruso's
acquisition.
giving us the accurate information?
I think, I trust his numbers. So roughly around 500,000, I think, between the purchase of there was a house, the trailer park, and then the related demolition.
Okay, and did we have to do, I think, should I ask Mr. Crusoe? Did we have to do an environmental cleanup there from that mobile home?
No, we did not. There was no environmental cleanup that had to be done. We had to do testing on the trailers before we did the demolition.
Right, yeah,
but there was no additional testing that had to be done on site.
Okay, and then we don't know what we're gonna do with that?
I mean, as part of the original plan, it was to coordinate with NICTD on a potential train station stop at that site.
And that's when there was supposed to be a tunnel going underneath the road and all that?
Well, there's still, for pedestrians, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's still, that could be
Right,
part of a
okay.
long-term strategy, but.
And we have, is these the same?
So there's two different ones here. One is for Iverson Grove in the amount of $1,000. The other one is Steve Santee for $500. We typically, or we're required by state law to get two independent appraisals when we appraise properties, and so these are the two proposals. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your presentation.
So then, once all that stuff's cleaned up, done, appraised, then we got a for sale sign.
Yeah, so I would note, Terry said there were three reasons. Really, the third reason to clean up the site, part of the challenge between the old trailer park site and this property, there's a series of trees that are in the utility lines, and so when we do the utility work, we've got to remove trees.
Is this closer to the VFW or on the other side?
The other side, so this would be east of the VFW, yeah. So there's utility work we still need to do to clean up on the site, and so by owning this property, again, it's a clear, small vacant residential lot. The ability to own it and clean up that line, it saves on some issues with trying to get access and things like that.
Okay.
And we can disconnect the utility, so it makes it easier to do demolition of trees when there's no utility line in the way.
So once that's all said and done, what's your ballpark figure of what that land is going to be worth?
I would think for a parcel that size adjacent to town, it would probably, I don't know that it'd be roughly the same, but it would probably be, probably roughly in the same neighborhood of what we paid for it, perhaps, for disposition. It all depends on how we
So you're
dispose
going to
of
list it
it.
for 500,000?
I would hope that would be great if I
I
could
hope
have
so.
if I could have a net
I
even.
don't want us to lose dough on property acquisition.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve the acquisition appraisal with Iverson Grove?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And was already noted, the second item is the acquisition appraisal with Steve Santee.
Correct.
Anything
I have
to
nothing
add?
else to add unless you have additional questions.
No additional questions here, so do we have a motion?
A motion to approve this professional services agreement.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries.
Moving on to public comment. Who wishes to be first?
The unofficial mayor of New Carlisle?
Oh, I could have said that.
Morning, Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. Bill's presentation was, I've seen it twice now, it's very informative, but as Commissioner Dieter said, there still are questions that come out of it. And some of my questions, I could meet with Bill after, just talk to Bill after the meeting and get the answers myself, but then that would mean I would have to relay the information to other people. And I have a hard time remembering what I just had for breakfast. So that's probably not the smart way to do it. I think if we start doing the questions and answers that come up during the meeting, rather than me cornering him as he walks out of the room and then asking a question, would be more effective. In that vein, Mr. Blanchard talked about $24 an hour being an average for the employees at the proposed GM facility. And I don't know if he said average. And my question is, he can't answer, maybe Bill can, maybe Bill would. Is it an average? Are there 10 people making equivalent of $100 an hour and 1,500 people making the equivalent of $16 an hour that comes to $24 an hour average? You're not going to make it on $16 an hour pretty much anywhere, but especially in New Carlisle. Construction phase labor, where will there be a local labor agreement like there is with Project Honeysuckle, where they reached an agreement with the local labor unions to use 75% organized labor to construct during those 4 years? Will GM commit to an organization vote by the employees once in 2027, 2028, once they open up operation? Will they commit to an organization vote like they did in Lordstown, Ohio, to let the employees determine whether they want to have a labor union there to negotiate wages, hours, and conditions of employment? Finally, Bill, I'm still on to, we have no temporary housing in the area. Hampton Inn, New Carlisle would look great on that site there at 502 East Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Must get help employees.
Good morning, Cheryl Nix, 17901 Sable Ridge Drive, South Bend, Indiana, Clay Township. Today I'm requesting that you allow a formal presentation by the Portage Manor Task Force. I realize that people can access the report online, but as I stated last week, this would offer an opportunity for you to ask questions and hold a discussion, And I think probably just as importantly, it honors the hard work of this commission task force. Today, I want to express my appreciation to the members of the team that lent their industry expertise to the work they did in creating the final document of recommendations to save Portage Manor. There was bipartisan involvement by elected officials, some of whom are seated here, from the Common Council, County Council, Portage Township Board, and of course, Board of Commissioners, led by Mark Catanzarite and Jason Critchlow. Stakeholders and industry experts included Cindy Schultz, Vice President of Adult Case Management and Housing at Oaklawn, Carla Fales, Area Agency on Aging for Real Services, she's the President and CEO, Ann Watson, St. Vincent de Paul, Executive Director, Silvana Atala, physician, Pete Agostino, attorney, Chris Borkowski, registered nurse and former director of nursing at Portage Manor, Courtney Mullins, registered nurse and current Portage Manor administrator, Jenny Piontek, volunteer, Portage Manor board member and social worker, Pam Clays, retired volunteer coordinator with Indiana Legal Services, Dan Kane, LPN, concentration on mental health, Mark Huffman, Portage Manor resident and their chaplain, John Butler, Portage Manor board president, St. Joseph County Special Projects coordinator, Robin Challenor, registered nurse and former Portage Manor administrator, Joe Broden, former South Bend Common Council member and social worker, Craig Coburn McDonald. He's a shipping and receiving director with a family member who resides at Portage Manor, Roy Sains. His uncle's a resident of Portage Manor, and he's an adjunct professor at IUSB in the MBA program. And Trina Robinson, Crow LLP Administrative Compliance Manager and President of the South Bend branch of the NAACP. I'm grateful for their time, their expertise, and their willingness to find solutions to save Portage Manor, and I appreciate your consideration of the four proposals they developed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does anyone else in the room wish to offer a public comment? Seeing no one, let's move to those online. Mary, your hand is up.
Hello, Mary Countryman, 52959 Timothy Road, New Carlisle, Indiana. I am wondering where GM is going to get employees for these jobs, and what happens if they attempt to fill these jobs and they say, yeah, we've got all these job openings, but it was your fault. There were no employees. Nobody wanted to come to work for us. The numbers are so high with the number of employees available in the United States and Northern Indiana alone, which it hasn't changed much since Toyota wanted to move here and build, but they did a study. So I wonder, has GM done a study for employees? If not, they're basically setting themselves up for failure, and we're setting ourselves up for a mess in a field that's going to sit empty. I'm also questioning the $24 an hour. Is that an average? Is that starting pay? I was reading on a Reuters article, workers at the Warren, Ohio Ultium Cells plant, they start at $16.50 an hour, and they don't rise to $20 an hour until working there for 7 years. So that, to me alone, is a big concern, because those wages aren't going to cut it. And like I said, where are they going to get the employees? I'd hate to see us have farmland, productive farmland, being taken and having it sit there empty. There are jobs, Karis Reel's hiring. There's jobs all over on Olive Road. There's still signs up. They still need employees. Where are they going to get the people? Thank you.
Does anyone else online wish to offer a comment?
Before we go, is there any South Bend Tribune people online? Joe Ditz? No, we don't have any Tribune? Okay, that's just, I hope a Tribune person would have been there. regarding to the previous speaker, but it's not directed at you, because we had sent Dr. Atela's, I sent it to Joe Ditz, I sent it to Alicia Redding of the editorial board. We also sent it online to all the media outlets for Dr. Atela's plan. And as we speak, that plan has not been put out by the local periodicals, as they say, Mr. Mish. The plan for the task force was printed twice within 48 hours in a Joe Ditz article on Friday and then again on Sunday. But the interesting part, that the commissioners were chastised by the editorial board by not getting public information out. So we gave it to y'all. If you're not listening, I hope you all pay attention because we gave it to you. The public should see Dr. Atela's report as they have seen the task force report, which we have put out twice. So go ahead, Carl, I'm done.
Just want to remind people that there is a privilege of the floor form for questions or additional information. Some people take advantage of that and others don't. So please, if you have requests, let us know by filling out that form. There being no other comments, do we have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
You can't
We are
touch that.
messing
You can't
back
touch
out.
that.